Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and today we're out here at the Minneapolis Auto Show in this beautiful weather, and we're here with Gary. Gary owns this beautiful 2003 Cobra SVT. Convertible and some other modifications on it here.
Yeah.
So Gary, thanks for being with us today.
You bet. Very nice to be here.
You know, first of all, the first thing that pops out to your eye is this paint job.
Yes.
So tell us about why.
Well,
what is this car about?
Since the day I bought this car, I wanted to build a military tribute. I wanted our veterans to know that we haven't all forgotten about them. It's very near and dear to my heart. So I just wanted something that was a little bit different, but a veteran could come up and look at it and go, okay, I love this. This is really cool, and I appreciate what you've done.
That is just awesome. Now you yourself are not a veteran.
I am not. It was not in the cards for me.
So that is just awesome that despite the fact that you're not a veteran, because most of the cars we see are done by veterans.
Correct.
So thank you on behalf of veterans for doing this. All right, so let's explain, first of all, you've owned this car since 2003.
I bought the car in August of '02, brand new. I'm the original owner.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about when you bought this car. How did you pick it out?
Well, when the car initially came out, they started talking about them in early 2002 about a factory supercharged Mustang. And since I was 8 years old, I was in love with Mustangs and said, I will buy one someday. And when they came out with the first factory supercharged Mustang, I went, someday is here, I'm going to buy one.
So you got this one, brand new.
Yes.
And then did you start modifying it right away?
Yes, I put exhaust on the car literally within 2 days of me buying it. I had the exhaust ordered before I actually got the car.
So, and did you have this concept of honoring veterans before you bought the car as well?
I always wanted to do something to honor our veterans. I had a motorcycle previously, and I thought about doing something on that. It just wasn't close enough to me, and my kids couldn't ride in the back seat of a motorcycle.
Right. So, oh man. Now, tell us about how you got the, all the work and how you found the person to do the paint job.
Well,
and what it is. What does it represent?
Basically, it represents a P51 Mustang fighter plane. I went and looked at a lot of the old military warplanes and looked at the bodies and the fuselages, and you could see that the aluminum on them is all distressed and it has a lot of air fractures on it, and the riveted patch panels just get so much attention on there that I really wanted to emulate that on the car so that people could tie the two together. That was my basic premise. When I did have it painted, I interviewed at least a half a dozen shops in the Twin Cities, and they didn't quite see my vision. I finally came upon Extreme Paint in Wyoming, Minnesota, and the owner, Aaron, and his airbrush guy, Jeff, interviewed with them. They totally got it. They loved the idea, and they were just immediately on board and ready to do it. They do primarily motorcycles, so it was something that wasn't...
So this is the first time they've done a car?
They had done a few other cars, but nothing like this. This was completely out of the norm, and this idea I literally came up with dreaming at night.
And that's incredible. When you look at the flames, it's different than the flames that we see on other cars.
Yes.
And how many hours of video did you say that the airbrush artist watched?
Well, Jeff Ehrman, he's the guy that did the airbrushing. He told me that he watched hours and hours and hours of video of paper burning so that he could get the exact look to it, because he knew that that's what I was going for, is a real, true flame.
And it looks incredible. Now, on the front fender, you've got a sticker.
No, that's not a sticker.
That's actually painted on.
That's also painted on. Yes, this car is 100% paint. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
That is
tell us about the dog.
The dog, that is a boxer. Her name was Jazzy. She was my first boxer, and she passed away of a brain tumor. And I just wanted to memorialize her, so she is on this car forever.
That's awesome. I appreciate as a dog lover. I appreciate that. All right, so let's talk before we get to the engine. Let's talk a little bit about the interior. You've done some customization, so let's talk about some of the pieces that you've added since you purchased it.
Yeah, we put the style bar on it just because on this body style in a convertible, they look so good with the style bar. And then the Speedster cover just makes it look more like a two-seater, so it completely eliminates the back seat, which we've deleted in there. The back seat now is completely flat across because we do road trip our car. We drive it everywhere. When we take trips, we drive it. It's not on a trailer. So we needed places to put our luggage, so the back seat's nice and flat.
And you did the delete.
I did. Yes, I built the back seat delete, installed it myself. The interior panels, I've taken all of the interior panels out, did an etching primer on the plastic so that the paint would adhere to the plastic. Painted all of them, then I baked it on and put it back together. And this has been painted like this for over 10 years now, and it still has held up really well.
It held up really good, and I mean, it looks great.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That perfect combination of color.
The factory, the interior of this really was no different than a factory Mustang, other than the seats. The seats were totally different, but everything else was a factory Mustang. So I just wanted to have something that was a little bit more distinguished. And you could tell this apart from
because this is the same. I know the center console and the dashboard are exactly the same as my 2004.
Yeah, they're identical, absolutely.
Except for the color, obviously. But and it's fun. I mean, they're like that bright candy apple red. I mean, it's got that sheen to it that looks really nice. Yeah, you're obviously somewhat of a perfectionist while you work.
I am, and don't let anyone kid you. That is not a good thing to be. It is too much work.
Well, it shows in here, and it looks great.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's talk about underneath the car, because it's not really normal anywhere.
No, there's really not much factory suspension left to the car. We've pulled everything off. It has coilovers all the way around. It has full-length subframe connectors welded into it. Then there are jacking rails on there, and they're triangulated. So the car is really stiff. I built the car to handle and to be able to take on twisty, curvy roads, which is what the car does. So yes, it's super stiff. Doesn't have the greatest ride in the world, just commuting on the Minneapolis and St. Paul streets. But boy, when you get it on the twisty roads, it really shines.
I peeked underneath her earlier. And I think if you ran into a semi, the semi would be wondering what hit him.
It is possible.
I'm not sure there would be any dents other than a little bumper damage when you're done. It's incredible under there. All right, so brakes.
Yes.
You've done a little bit of tinkering with brakes.
Yes, I have. The brakes have been completely upgraded. With the power that the car makes, I wanted to make sure that I had the ability to stop the car. And when the 20 Shelby GT500s came out, I looked at the brakes on those and went, okay, those things are massive. That's what I want to put on my car, is giant brakes like that. So I did some research and found that Bear makes a really nice 6-piston package for this with 16-inch rotors. They're just over 16 inches, but yeah, giant rotors on it. So the car has the go, and now it has the whoa, which you really need to be able to make it stop in a hurry.
Yeah, and I mean, you need to have that with that much horsepower. Speaking of which, let's open up the hood and talk about the motor.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, so, well, is there anything stock left in the motor?
Yes, actually, the motor and the internals are still stock. These motors were absolutely built to be indestructible when they are tuned correctly. Factory had forged internals on them. They have H-beam connecting rods in them. They were built to be very stout for a person like me to buy it and build the car to what you wanted, which that's what I've done.
So how many horsepower approximately are you putting out to the wheels?
The car makes just over 800 to the rear wheels.
Takes you a long time to get to church on Sunday then.
Yeah, well, with the paint, sometimes they don't allow me in.
So how much torque?
Torque is about 760, not quite as high as the horsepower, but the Kenny Bell superchargers are more known for horsepower and not massive torque numbers.
I think 700 is probably enough.
It's fine. It suits the car.
getting 800 to the tires, then that's got to be producing more than 800 here.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
It's estimated that there's a 15 to 20% loss through powertrain.
Now, have you done any of the painting? I mean, obviously, I love the distressed look of the air intakes right here.
Yep.
It looks like they've been hit by something. The smoke's been pouring down
Right.
oil. Did you paint any part of the motor? Now you got some valve covers here.
The cam
Silver
covers, I actually like the factory silver because they match the car really well,
Okay.
so I just left them. The coil covers, I did paint those. They're powder-coated red to match.
Okay.
The strut tower brace was not a factory thing. The company that built it specifically built it to clear the 2.8 Kenny Bell. That's also powder-coated black.
Okay.
There were the whole driver's side of the engine on the supercharger. There were solenoids and valves and all that on there, so it completely blocked out the beauty of the supercharger. So I took all of that stuff off and relocated it back into the firewall so that you can actually see the diamond in there,
Yeah.
instead of having all this big clunky stuff that looks like mechanical things that no one wants to look at anyway.
Well, it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
I tell you what, it polished and what a sight to see. So anything else that you've done on the engine?
We replaced the supercharger.
Oh yeah, you were actually on a 50th anniversary ride.
Yeah, we were on the 50th anniversary cruise for Mustangs across America. I was on the Oklahoma-Texas border, 711 miles from home, and the factory Eaton decided to explode on me.
So how far did you drive from that point to home?
711 miles.
And in that time, you had gotten somebody to manufacture.
Yes, I called Kenny Bell, and their customer service is beyond awesome. Called Kenny Bell, told them what I was doing. They told me they were 6 weeks out on their builds. Cried on their shoulder a lot. Told them that there's only one 50th anniversary, that the car is a military tribute, and I really, really need the supercharger tomorrow. They felt bad for me, so they said, okay, we'll pull one right now. We will build it for you. Gave them the tech specs over the phone while I was driving home. They next dated it to me. By the time I got home that night, I tore the supercharger off of it, had everything ready to go for the new one. Next morning, I ran to FedEx, picked up the supercharger, came home, reinstalled it, called my dyno guy, told him I needed just a safe tune in it so I could finish the cruise. He tuned it. I left directly from his shop, headed down to Dallas, met up with the 50th anniversary
Which is now,
cruise.
again, 700 and some miles the other way.
Yes. Drove all the way
All
down.
like in 3 days.
Yeah. Not quite 3 days even. Met up with them in Dallas, got to finish the 50th anniversary cruise because there will only ever be one 50th anniversary of the
That's
Mustang.
right. And only this car being a military tribute as well.
Exactly. So, yeah, it was really cool what they did, and everything just kind of fell together. So we were able to do it, make the cruise. We got to hot lap it at Charlotte Motor Speedway at the 50th anniversary. And, yeah, it was just very fun, real enjoyable. And then we hit the tail of the dragon on the way home with it.
Okay.
If you look really low in the back, you can see that the entire exhaust is polished. So if you stand back and look under there,
and you can see from
you
the
can
side.
see that the exhaust is polished. Just because, I want the underside of it to look just as nice. The fuel tank cover, I pulled that off of there, had that all smoothed out and painted. The fuel tank straps, I had them powder-coated reds because that stuff is so noticeable on the back of this car when you're pulling up to it at a light. I wanted it to look clean, and I wanted the fit and finish to look just like the top.
I know when I looked underneath there, you could see that shiny pipe going.
Yeah,
all
it might be a
the
little
way
dirty
up there.
today, just because we did drive it here, but yeah.
No, it still looked pretty clean underneath.
Good.
Well, Gary, that is an incredible story and an incredible car. You are an incredibly talented guy, and you're not even a mechanic.
No, I'm not a mechanic.
But on behalf of veterans everywhere, thank you for putting your time and effort into making this a special tribute to them.
Thank you, and I appreciate you guys taking the time just to hear the story, because the more people that hear about it and the more it gets out, the more veterans hear this story and realize that They have not been forgotten.
That's right. Gary, thanks again for sharing it with us. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for watching.